This one is the wide or narrow shoulder adjustment, and I think this one is like way fun. It's sort of magic how you do all of this kind of thing. If you find that your shoulder seam is, too high up on your arm, like, this line, this shoulder seam line here should fall, depending on the fit of the shirt, it should really fall exactly where, your arm hinges if you put your finger on your arm. If your shoulder is wider, it's going to be a little higher up on your shoulder. If your shoulder is narrower, the shoulder seam is going to be dropping off your shoulder down your arm. So to do the wide or narrow shoulder adjustment, and this is a frame adjustment. This is one of the few frame adjustments. This is not a padding adjustment. You do this one before you adjusting your sleeve. You do this one before you do an FBA, because again, changing the fit here is going to change the fit down here. So to do this one, we pick a point halfway along the shoulder seam and a point about 2/3 down the arm seam, and you cut a line. You cut a line right in and through that seam allowance and down to the seam allowance here, and then do another cut in here so that you have a hinge. Well, that's all fine and well. You can hinge it like this, but that means that this is way out of line, right? So before we do that, we cut another line at right angles from this first line through the shoulder point and make a hinge there as well. So if, for example, you think that you need to increase your shoulder width by, let's say, an inch. Okay, so we're going to basically, we see now this adjusts like this, right? So we just go like that with it. So we can slide some tissue paper under there, and then you just tape it in place. And you'll notice that it overlaps here and it spreads there. Basically, the amount that it spreads here equals the amount that it's overlapped here, so you haven't changed the dimension of your sleeve at all, which you don't want to do, because readjusting the size of the sleeve is really awful. So now I'm going to do that one on paper. So as I said, we've got a dot about halfway along the shoulder, and another dot that's about 1/3 of the way down the armhole. And we cut this straight through like this, down there like this, to this one, to make that hinge. And then we cut kind of through to there. Again, we don't need to be super fussy with it, but just enough that it will actually hinge. And then slide another piece of tissue paper underneath there. And spread it and tape it in place like that. Now, if you need to do a narrow shoulder adjustment, let's say you need to, narrow your shoulder by just about an inch, you're going to overlap it like this and do that hinge like this. It's a little bit off. We'll fix that later, but basically you just do it like that and tape it in place. I'm going to do the wide shoulder adjustment again like this. Put a pattern weight there so that it doesn't move around too much. Take this. Now, it's also important to remember that if you do it on your front piece, which this is, you need to do it on your back piece as well, so that they both match, they both line up. So it's like that, and there we go.